Welcome to 2025. It's Dr. Sasheen. I'm back. Thank you for everyone who has been so patient. Still a little scratchy. It's been a while since my voice has had some oomph to it, where I felt like I could at least get on here and make a few videos and not sound like I was doing that over and over again. So if I do it a little bit, you'll hear it, and it's that time of year. It's that season. My family was very fortunate. Several of our members did come down with COVID, so we didn't get to have um, any kind of holiday season together, which was okay. It just meant that my small nuclear family was on our own, and we were very fortunate in that we just got colds. We have tested negative for COVID the entire time, which is great. But it's not really fun when you are expecting to have a huge holiday with your family and then you just can't. So, anyway, I hope everyone out there had a wonderful holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate, whatever you rang in the new year, whatever you hoped for happened for you over the weeks that I have not seen you because I have missed you all. So, what are we talking about in this brief video? Because I know I like to keep it, I'm only here for a short time, but it's going to be a good time. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about 2025. What's here? This is January 2nd. For those of you who are watching this on January 2nd, hey, say hello. Let me know that you saw it. For those who are catching this in the future, hello and welcome to the party. Welcome to the Rules Club, because what in here we follow the rules, and the rules will be talked about in just a moment. But if you haven't seen the new rules of engagement video, might be a good time to check that one out. If you are new here, allow me to reintroduce myself. Dr. Sasheen, this is my podcast or vlogcast, however you want to call it, Women in Transition, where I talk to women who are in the transitionary period of their lives, usually Gen X women, because that's where I am, but anybody is welcome to the party. The goal here is to look out for ourselves, look out for each other, and level up in the process. So a lot of things are going to happen this year. I've got a few videos, more than a few, to get recorded and get out to you, because we've got some building to do in 2025. 2024, if you're here, chances are you came to me after an election. I'm going to say that's all I'm going to say about that. And you were probably looking at the landscape of the world going, WTF, what am I supposed to do now? And hopefully you found me because I put out that video, the new rules of engagement, about what we are not going to do for the next however many years. What we are not going to do is allow anyone to steal our peace and our joy. And so what we are going to do is we're going to follow the rules. And the rules are going to be our guiding light for the next year, 2 years, and beyond. Because for far too long, we have been laboring under the belief that we needed to put others before ourselves for the greater good. Well, greater good is going to sit on the shelf for the next year, and you're going to begin to practice the rules. Rule number one is your peace is non-negotiable. For my old timers who are becoming OGs here, you know this. Our rule here is very simple. For 2025, our peace becomes even more non-negotiable than it was when we first started talking about this. Well, I've been talking about it for years, but since it really started to take off last year. What do I mean by your peace is non-negotiable? What I mean is you've probably come through the holidays and you've probably been feeling like the world is changing, but it hasn't really changed yet. And so there's still this really big sense of unease. The bubble hasn't burst. There have been a lot of things that have happened, but life doesn't feel markedly different. I need you to hold on to that feeling. I need you to stand in my life doesn't need to get markedly different to make sure that my peace stays non-negotiable in 2025. So what you're going to do is you're going to stop clicking on the clickbait. Everything is not breaking news. Let's stop that. You're going to confine your doom scrolling, because I can't tell you not to. We're humans. We're creatures of habit. But you've got to confine your doom scrolling to only certain hours of the day. And please don't do it before bedtime. Please. If I could get y'all to stop watching true crime before bedtime, we would cure the sleep epidemic in this country. But since I cannot do that, and we're going to doom scroll, confine your doom scrolling to when the sun is up, not when it's going down. And confine it to, I'm only going to allow myself to ingest X amount of time on whatever your platforms are of choice. Now, The second way you're going to make sure that you're protecting your peace, the first is confining, is not to click the bait. That's the first one. Don't click the bait. Everything is not breaking news. Confine your doom scrolling to a certain length of time, a certain time of day, and only so long. The second thing you're going to do is search for joy in your scrolling. So once you get your fix of whatever it is that the news of the day has convinced us we need to think about, and since I can't get us off social media, and I'm not even trying to, we're in a whole new world now. I want you to start to curate your feeds to reflect some joy, because a lot of us are looking for joy. A lot of us are seeking each other and looking for places where we can connect in joy and not in trauma. We have done enough trauma bonding for a lifetime. Okay. And there's no way to put peace on our altar and the front and center of our altar of ourselves if we cannot find joy in the everyday. And so I want you to start thinking about, how am I going to curate my feed on whatever social media outlet or wherever I'm getting my life connection points. Where am I going to start looking for joy? Maybe it's time to start going back to the library, checking out some books, sitting in the corner, reading one of them and not leaving the building, because you know what the library has? Quiet, peace, lots and lots of books. Some even serve coffee now. Maybe it's time to go hang out at the bookstore. Maybe it's time to go to an art gallery or a gallery opening. Maybe it's time to go to a concert, to the symphony, to a dance recital or routine. Maybe it's time to go for, I mean, it's winter here, but it hasn't really snowed. It's been chilly, but it's not freezing. We haven't had any snow. A walk in the park, grounding, earthing, as it's called now. Boy, those people who are, I'm a 70s baby, but I was born in the 70s. So I didn't actually live during the 70s. But I imagine some of our parents are like, the names that y'all give things that we used to do. Anyway, it's time to figure out how you're going to curate some joy in 2025, because the number one rule is your peace is non-negotiable. Well, it's going to be negotiated away if all you are consuming is doom. If the consumption of the bait that we click keeps our cortisol levels super high and takes our eye off the prize, which is keeping our peace non-negotiable and our lives on track. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the second thing you're going to do, is curate joy into your life. I don't care how you do it, but I want you to make a commitment to yourself that I will find joy in my day. Every single day, I will find a reason for joy, a reason to smile. I happen to like funny pet videos. I don't like mean funny pet videos. I just like pets. I like cats and dogs and all kinds of animals. So I'm that person who's always scrolling through the funny little cat videos and dog videos. And in fact, my son, excuse me, my son and I check the feed at the local animal shelter, the kitten room, and we'll sometimes watch the kitties play. So, because that brings a sense of peace and it brings a sense of perspective. Seeking joy requires work. Seeking doom doesn't. The world is feeding us. If I see one more breaking news post, I've started just muting creators who are not legitimate journalists, but also even legitimate journalists. If all I'm ever getting is breaking news, then nothing is breaking news, and I'm not listening to you anymore, because you are raising my temperature. You're raising my blood pressure, and I don't like it. And so it is really hard to escape the news of the day and all the stuff that has happened. But so we have to decide, okay, I'm going to find a way to bring something else into my space that is not this. That is simply not this. If you are heavily into the world of politics and you want to keep your finger on that pulse, I'm not telling you not to, but I am asking you to make an effort to find joy to balance the doom. And because joy is a lot harder to find and a lot harder to get, you have to go look for it. You're going to have to go look for it. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to stop clicking the bait. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to find joy to balance the clickbait. The third thing that we're going to do, to help us get through 2025 is we're going to start thinking about how people survived the first time they went through this, and even further back when economies weren't great. I lived through 2008, even further back to gas price crisis to oil embargoes. This country's been through a lot, a lot. Every country's been through a lot. We're not unique and we are not special. And the sooner that we remember that this experiment we call democracy was put together in ways that are not pretty. And so, this Frankenstein thing that is democracy has always had a tendency to rip off its pieces and stitch them back together in ways that make us uncomfortable and sometimes is untenable, but we're still doing it. Because of that, we now have to make some clear ideological choices about the next few years. It's not enough just to survive what is coming. We also have to thrive in the world. And that means I want you to start thinking about how am I going to disconnect from the first, that first one, connect to some joy, and then how am I going to live my life? How am I going to make sure that I don't fall through the cracks? How am I going to make sure that I continue to be able to feed my family? How am I going to make sure that not only do I feed my family, but that I continue to thrive? Because let me tell you something that people love to kind of skirt around, and the media, the mainstream media doesn't really talk about, but we're going to talk about it. Not every person is going to ride through a recession / depression the same way. Even under Obama, when it was hard, remember there were some years it was hard. We called it the Great Recession. We all know what it was, though. We know exactly what it was. It was tough, but not everybody went through that the same way. And so, in one of the videos that I am going to release this week, I'm going to talk about industries that survive and weather those storms really, really well in economic downturns, and how our skills as Gen X generation of women are well situated to maximize that. Now, listen, somebody out there is going to get up in their feelings and say, we shouldn't be trying to capitalize off pain. Let me explain something to you. You will help no one by sacrificing yourself for them. And that means you can choose to not make your peace your priority and choose instead to make the world non-suffering your priority, and you will just be suffering right along with everybody else. I am not unsympathetic to what is happening in the world and what is to come. But what I want to ask you is very simply this: how can you have peace in your own house, in your own place where you exist, if you are so focused on how painful it is for everybody else? Because I want to be very clear. When we got on this journey together, with the rules being your peace is non-negotiable, and rule number 2 being don't let anyone or anything fuck with rule number 1, anyone or anything means just that. It means just that. You are not going to help somebody with an empty hand. You can't feed from an empty cup. And if your family's suffering, who are you going to help? How are you going to figure this out if you can't figure your own family's well-being out? And the last thing we have to remember is that you are sacrificing for people who would sacrifice for you. You are no longer sacrificing for people who obviously would not sacrifice for you. And you have to remember that now. That is going to become more apparent as the weeks begin to pass now that we're in 2025. People are imploding. It's not your problem. Not your problem. Because remember, we have decided that our peace is non-negotiable and that no one and nothing is going to mess with that anymore. So, number 1, don't click the bait. Number 2, joy scroll. Find things that bring you joy. Get out of the house where you can. Go when you need to. Go when you want to go. Rent the RV and take off for a couple of weeks. If you want to. If you've been contemplating, well, maybe I should take a trip and go see some art museums in Chicago. Go. If the word joy can be attached to the feeling that you're experiencing as you do the thing, then please go do it. Absolutely, please go do it and don't look back. And then number 3, we're going to figure out the best ways to navigate through what's coming and still keep our joy and our peace intact. Because a lot of things that we are talking about and we are worrying about right now hasn't happened yet. So that's why I said, don't click the bait. Don't click the bait. But the reality is, regardless of what may or may not come, we have, sorry, there's a net, which is not surprising because it's been super warm here. We have history to tell us what happens when economies downturn. We have history to tell us what happened the last time this particular person was in office. So, since we have some data, and I love data, since we have some data, we also know what people did to make sure that their little slice of paradise stayed their little slice of paradise. Okay? We're much smarter, we're much wilier, we're much more committed to our well being and our goodness than we have ever been before. And though it may feel like that committedness has divided us, I would argue that the Frankenstein monster analogy that I used earlier is simply us ripping off some pieces and saying, I'm not picking that poison back up and sewing it back in again. So maybe I'm going to have to live with half an arm for a while until I can find a better one. But that's going to have to be okay, because we're not going to pick up the pieces of the poison that got us here and sew it back onto our bodies, hoping that we can somehow heal all of us, while some people are trying to poison some of us. You get my drift? All right. That's all I have for this particular video. However, in the last video that I don't know if I was live or if it was a recording, I mentioned something called the Magical 7, and I finally have the Magical 7 booklet ready for you to download and use to help you figure out how to reprioritize your 2025. Instead of making goals, you need to ask the right questions, you need to set the right priorities, order those steps to goal fulfillment, because having a dream and trying to put that into a goal never works out. That's why 25,000 people are going to sign up for a gym membership this week. And by February 1st, those gym memberships on autopilot are just going to be raking in the free cash, because those folks are not going to come back, and they're also not going to cancel the subscription they just paid for, or not subscription. Anyway, the membership that they just paid for to go to the gym. They're also not going to cancel it because they're going to feel guilty. This is because they're not following rule number 1, because rule number 1 would say, I'm sorry, I want to get my body in shape. I'm going to join this organization. 2 weeks later, I don't feel comfortable. This is disturbing my peace to the point where I'm not ready, because I'm just not emotionally ready for this yet. So I'm going to go ahead and not do this. But I'm going to cancel this membership, because disturbing my bank account would be disturbing my peace. And we're not going to let that happen. But that doesn't happen, because too many of us make a goal without the priority being in place. And then once the goal fails, we just kind of walk away with our heads tucked down in shame, because we don't want to admit that we let ourselves down again. In the Magical 7 booklet, I talk about how the goal shouldn't be the point. You have to set your priorities. Your priorities determine how successful you're going to be. Going back to our example of losing weight, what's the priority there? I'll tell you from my own life, my priority around my health is flexibility and endurance, because I love to dance. Now, that means that I dance because I love to dance. And oddly enough, dancing builds endurance. It builds cardiovascular endurance and cardiovascular health. Why would I go run on a treadmill at a gym when I literally hate walking on the treadmill at the gym? And the thing that I really want to be doing, which is dancing, fits the priority that I have, which is building my endurance, building my cardiovascular endurance. My flexibility, I do this thing called yoga lattes right now, which I really love, which is a combination of yoga and Pilates, led by this lovely woman named Rashmi. And I need flexibility as I've gotten and getting older, right? Some of the stretchy joints, the tendons and whatnot in our body start to shorten if we don't use them, and our knees start to hurt and things start to kind of become harder and harder to do. And so regaining my flexibility after being kind of down for a few years is really important to me. So I'm going to do things that allow me to engage with my flexibility and my endurance, because that's my priority in my health arena, is to build my endurance and my flexibility. That cuts out a lot of stuff that I'm not going to do. So if my goal was just to be healthier or lose weight, I'd go join a gym, but that's not my priority. My priority is endurance and my body being flexible enough to dance. That's my priority, which means my actions should be in alignment there. And when my actions are in alignment with the priority that I have set, that goal of weight loss, that just starts to come naturally. Because if I don't lose weight, Well, that wasn't really my priority, was it? My priority is to be able to dance and move and breathe better and have lung capacity that allows me to move for more than 5 minutes at a time without losing my breath. I can achieve that goal by keeping my priorities very close to me. So you want to ask yourself, if I'm not achieving my goals, is it because my why is not there? Because my priority, my why will tell me how to get it done. And my how will get the goal fulfilled. But if I don't know my why, then I can't get to my how, and the goal just keeps dying on the vine over there. And I keep paying for gym memberships that I desperately do not need. All right. If you're interested in the Magical 7, click the link below. It'll take you to the download, and you can download it, and it'll come right to your inbox. Or at least I think it'll come right to your inbox. The link was broken yesterday. I'll make sure it gets fixed. Otherwise, I will see you all very soon. Look for me more and more and more, because now that I'm feeling better, I am back. We're back in the saddle, and we have a lot to do for the next 4 years. I'm here for you, and you're here for me. Invite people to like and subscribe. Come join the family. Be a part of the rules group. Excuse me. I'm trying not to cough. The rules crew. And always remember rule number 1. Your peace is non-negotiable. And if you waver, just remember rule number 2. It's Dr. Sasheen. Click like and subscribe, and join me next time. Talk to you soon. Bye.